Okay, well, thank you for joining us at the first annual New Jersey Youth Transition Conference. My name is Chad. I'm with Monmouth Cares. I'll be the host for this session, which is titled Supports with the Children's System of Care, an overview of care management organizations, children's mobile response and stabilization services, and family support organizations. Today, April DiPietro is going to be speaking with us from Camden County Partnership for Children, who will be our presenter today. A couple housekeeping items before we get started. In this format, all participants are muted by default. If you would like to communicate with myself or the panelists, please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. If you also want to rename your Zoom profile to include your organization, that just gives us a better idea of who we're talking to if you ask a question. A recording of these presentations will be available within the next few days on our website, www.njyouthtransition.life. This session is also being closed captioned. In order to activate closed caption feature, please click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and click show subtitles. If you need technology support at any point during the session, you can access our live tech support Zoom room sponsored by Richard West ATAC. The Zoom room link is available on our website on the conference agenda page. Please be patient, as there may be many people seeking help at the same time. If you're having technology difficulties now, please first check your sound and try signing out and signing back into the session before visiting the tech support Zoom. Oftentimes, this may fix the issue. Please note we have a hard stop at 5 minutes before, I think at 3:25 would be our hard stop. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to April to take us away.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Can I get a verbal, yes, you can see this?
Yes, we can see this.
Anybody. All right, awesome. I'm going to put this in presentation mode and get started. So the New Jersey Department of Children and Families, Children's System of Care, Developmental Disabilities, Eligibility, and Functional Services. My name is April DiPietro, and I'm the Community Resource Director at the Camden County Care Management Organization. So prevention and service focused, Division of Children Protection and Permanency, the Division of Children's System of Care, the Division of Family and Community Partners, Division of Women, Office of Family Voice, and Office of Resilience, all underneath Division of Children and Families, often referred to as DCF. So some of the roles and the responsibilities. So under DCF, you have DCP&P, Division of Child Protection and Permanency, along with Children's System of Care. Oftentimes, you'll see them referred to as DCP&P or CSOC, Children's System of Care. Under Children's System of Care is PerformCare. They are the contracted system administrator, and that's where all three of the CMO, mobile response, and FSO kind of report to and document everything into the PerformCare system. So this is just a visual to help you understand how everything flows from Division of Children and Families, DCF. So PerformCare roles and responsibilities. As I said, under PerformCare, we have CMO services, the Care Management Organization, MRSS, which is Mobile Response Stabilization Services, and the Family Support Organization. In addition, there are also DD Eligibilities. Off of the DD Eligibility, we have FSS, which is Family Support Services, and IIH, which is Intensive In-Home Services. There are also out-of-home services available, which I will go into further in the presentation. So definition of a developmental disability. Developmental disability means a severe chronic disability of an individual which is attributed to a mental or physical impairment or a combination of both, is manifested before the age of 22, is likely to continue indefinitely, results in substantial functional limitations in 3 or more areas of major life activity, reflects the need for care, treatment, or other services which are of lifelong or extended duration. Developmental disability includes, but is not limited to, intellectual disability, autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, spina bifida, and other neurological impairments. Applying for DD or DDD eligibility. For individuals under the age of 18, eligibility is determined by Children's System of Care. Application materials for individuals under 18 available are available on PerformCare's website at performcarenj.org. CSOC is responsible for providing services until the age of 21. For individuals aged 18 or older, eligibility is determined by DDD. Application materials for individuals 18 and older are available on the DDD website, which is state.nj.us/human services/DDD/home. DDD is responsible for providing services after the age of 21. So requirements for DD eligibility: ages, diagnosis, functional limitations, citizenship, and residency. And we'll go into each of those now. So for age requirements, applications accepted age 0 until day before the child's 18th birthday. On the 18th birthday and thereafter, applicants must be submitted to the Division of Developmental Disability. That's the DDD. Youth between the ages of 18 and 21 may be found eligible by Division of Developmental Disability, but will receive services through Children's System of Care until their 21st birthday. Diagnostic requirements. A child must be diagnosed with a developmental disability in order to be considered for eligibility. Common developmental disabilities include intellectual disability, Down syndrome, and autism spectrum disorder. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or other behavioral related conditions are not developmental disabilities. A diagnosis must be made by a licensed clinician through some evaluation process. Diagnosis from a school representative, unless a state licensed clinician, is not acceptable, nor is a prescription pad diagnosis from a pediatrician. So that's very specific. Functional limitations. In order to be eligible for services through Children's System of Care, a child must have substantial functional limitations in 3 of 7 areas. A diagnosis of developmental disability is not enough to warrant eligibility. Receptive and expressive language function, self-care, learning, self-direction, capacity for independent living, economic self-sufficiency, or mobility. Measures of functional ability include standardized measures of adaptive functions such as Vineland Adaptive Behavioral Scales or Applied Behavioral Assessment System. Moving on to citizenship and residency. The child and or parent legal guardian must be a United States citizen or permanent resident with a U.S. birth certificate, U.S. passport, certificate of neutralization, certificate of citizenship, or permanent residence card, green card. The child and or parent legal guardian must be a resident of New Jersey. Now, this is specific to the intellectual developmental disabilities eligibility. For families that are not US citizens, they can still access Children's System of Care mental health services by contacting PerformCare. This particular slide is specific to the IDD eligibility. Steps to eligibility: completing the application. Complete the application online through the PerformCare portal, uploading all of the documentation. Complete the application through the portal and provide supporting evidence through the email, or request a paper application from PerformCare or download it from the PerformCare website and submit completed application and supporting documentations through the mail. So there are multiple ways for families to complete the application process. Steps to eligibility: the application review. Upon submission, PerformCare checks the application for completeness. Families will be advised if additional information is needed. Incomplete applications may take longer to process. Eligibility denials: options following a not eligible determination. You can file an appeal of the determination either with or without additional supporting documentation, or you can reapply if circumstances have changed. So this is a video.
The New Jersey Children.
So this is a video that PerformCare has on their website that anybody can access. But again, this recording will be available on the website as well. So I'm going to play the video, and this is basically a commercial that walks the family through the application process.
Children's System of Care, or CSOC, offers services for eligible youth that are impacted by intellectual and developmental disabilities, such as Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, and seizure disorders like epilepsy. PerformCare works with CSOC to assist families who are requesting these services. To access services for children with intellectual or developmental disabilities through CSOC, families must first complete an eligibility application. In order to qualify, the child must be under the age of 18 and living with a caregiver. If your child also has mental health needs or is in crisis, this application is not required to immediately access behavioral health services through CSOC. This application is for families that wish to access CSOC services only available to children with intellectual or developmental disabilities, or IDD. PerformCare is available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-877-652-7624. Step 1. Getting ready. Before applying, parents should review the PerformCare website to see what IDD services are available. A listing can be found at www.performcarenj.org/IDD services. If the service you need is not provided through CSOC, families and caregivers can look for services from other sources, such as insurance and your child's school district. You should also review frequently asked questions for families of children with developmental disabilities, the Getting Ready checklist, and the timeframes for clinical assessments available on the PerformCare website. Although the application process is somewhat lengthy, you only need to complete the eligibility application once for IDD services through CSOC. Step 2. Applying for eligibility. After reviewing the available services and collecting the required information on the checklist, you can start the application. Make sure to follow the instructions carefully so the review of your completed application is not delayed. You can apply with our online application found at www.performcarenj.org/IDD application. If you choose, a paper application is also available for mailing. Only one application is needed. When applying, you'll need your child's most recent evaluations, as listed on the Getting Ready checklist. Please also check the timeframes for clinical assessments to see if the documents qualify. If you are sending your child's Individualized Educational Program, or IEP, ask your child's school for the assessments and evaluations used to create the IEP. Also, include any clinical reports from your child's doctors. If you need help getting this information, please contact PerformCare. Another very important part of the application is the Child Adaptive Behavior Summary, or CABS. It will give us information about your child's typical daily functioning within the last 6 months. The CABS should be completed and signed by your child's primary caregiver, the person who is most familiar with your child. Step 3. After you apply. Once your application has been received, we will make sure that all required forms and documents are included. If your child's application is missing information, this will delay the review process. PerformCare will send you a letter if additional information is needed to make a decision. The letter will also explain the next steps in the application process. A clinical review and decision will be made after we receive all the required documents and confirm that the application is complete. PerformCare is available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year at 1-877-652-7624. It's free to call PerformCare. Specially trained PerformCare associates are available to help with the application process. For more information, visit PerformCare's website at www.performcarenj.org. We look forward to helping your family access the services your child needs to be well and succeed.
Okay, so the service array DD Eligibility Youth can include any children's system of care service, such as care management organization, CMO, mobile response stabilization services, MRSS, or the family support organizations, FSO, as well as functional services, family support services, or intensive in-home services. Family support services, designed to strengthen and promote families that provide care at home for a child or a young adult. Eligibility for family support services, child must be determined eligible for intellectual developmental disability services through the New Jersey's Children's System of Care. Child must live in the community either with a family member or a resourced family. How to apply for and request family support services. You can call PerformCare toll-free at 1-877-652-7624 to complete an application by phone. PerformCare evaluates the FSS based on individual need, caregiver need, current services utilized and are available, and the availability of those resources. Family support services offer educational advocacy, camp, assistive technology, such as assistive devices. Examples include travel chairs, walkers, and positioning systems. Vehicle modification. Examples include motorized lifts and ramps. Environmental modifications. Examples include widening a doorway, ramps and/or grab bars, and their installation. Respite care also falls under the family support services. Agency hired respite, there is self-hired respite, agency after school care, agency weekend recreation, or overnight respite. Intensive in-home services, such as behavioral services known as ABA, applied behavioral analysis, clinical and therapeutic services, or individual support services. Short-term out-of-home treatment, such as crisis stabilization and assessment programs. These program objectives are engage and stabilize the youth, provide comprehensive diagnostic assessments that identify appropriate treatment setting, whether that's in-home or out-of-home, needed services, supports that can meet the youth's habilitation and behavioral health needs upon discharge, skill building, assistance with activities of daily living and engagement with family are included. When clinically appropriate, IIH will be initiated in the program, and the IIH therapist will continue to provide services to the youth and family in their home upon discharge. Out-of-home treatment programs. The Children's System of Care strives to maintain youth in the community for treatment whenever possible. However, some children with developmental disabilities who have needs that cannot be met at home may be eligible for treatment in a residential program. This recommendation will be made by the youth's child family team, and the determination is done by PerformCare. Transitioning young adults to the Division of Developmental Disabilities, adult DDD. The DDD performs eligibility determinations for young adults who will receive services past their 21st birthday. Families are strongly encouraged to ensure that the DDD eligibility process is completed prior to the young adult's 20th birthday. The youth is required to have the appropriate type of Medicaid to qualify for DDD services. For more information, please visit DDD's website at nj.gov/human-services/DDD/services/apply. Collaboration between Children's System of Care and adult DDD includes roundtable conferencings and data sharing. For more information on Children's System of Care, please visit their website. It's www.state.nj.us/families/CSC. PerformCare member services phone number, again, is toll-free, 877-652-7624. And then, of course, you can always go to the PerformCare website where they have the video that I showed today and a bunch of other resources for parents at www.performcarenj.org. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here if it will let me. There we go. And if there are any questions that I can answer for anyone, I'm happy to do so. If you can just use the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your toolbar in this webinar, that would be great.
I'm watching. Looks like we got our first question. Can you go into out-of-home needs a bit more?
Absolutely. So ideally, what we're looking to do is when Children's System of Care gets involved, we're looking to have the child and the family identify community-based resources that they can tap into, right? So if a young person is deemed DD eligible under Children's System of Care, that opens up a different level of services to that young person and the family under children's system of care. If we've exerted all other options and the young person is still struggling in the home environment and is no longer safe, what we could do is the child family team together will put into the cyber system, that's the computer system that we use, that the state reviews, and kind of explain clinically, this is what we've tried, this is where we're at, and we're seeking out of home as an option. Again, the out of home is for treatment purposes. The goal is always to the child going back to the home environment and then connecting with community-based resources. So the process is different. It's individualized depending on each child that is under children's system of care. But essentially, out of home treatment options are available when clinically appropriate, but it is usually the last option that we try. We try to exert all other options first. And then we'll ask PerformCare, hey, based off of what we've done thus far, the young person is still struggling. Can we tap into some of the out of home treatment options? I hope that answered the question. If there's more, please let me know.
I'll ask two questions. What is the cost of that out of home treatment to families, and how long does it last?
The cost is at no cost to the family, so it's all covered under Medicaid. So if a family has their own private insurance, when they get linked with children's system of care, the care manager that's coordinating the services will get a temporary Medicaid number attached to that young person, not for the whole family, just for the young person open to our services. So if clinically appropriate, out of home treatment is an option that is best for the young person and the family, that all gets handled through Medicaid at no cost to the family. As far as length of time and out of home, again, it's individualized. Ideally, keeping in mind our main goal is always to keep children in home, in their communities, in school, and safe. But if and when that's not appropriate, that is when we tap into the out of home treatment options. Because again, every situation is different, but it's at no cost to the family, and the length of time varies depending on the child's clinical needs.
Okay, another question we got. What kinds of services are available to those with private insurance, and how do we go about referring or obtaining those services?
So the way that I would answer this is, regardless if a family has their own private insurance or maybe they do have Medicaid, to just always call PerformCare and tap into the IDD available resources. Like I explained in the PowerPoint, there are a slew of options available, but they're only available to those who are deemed DD eligible under children's system of care. So regardless of the family's insurance, I would definitely suggest reaching out to PerformCare and starting that application process. For those that have private insurance and maybe don't, for whatever reason, want to reach out to PerformCare, it is my understanding that there are managed care organizations that offer ABA services similar to that under children's system of care. But if you leave with anything today, leave with, regardless of what your financial, economic, insurance background is, call PerformCare. We help the families get from point A to point B, and it opens a lot of doors to make sure that young people who are deemed DD eligible have the resources and tools available to them. So how do ABA services work for PerformCare? So essentially, the young person needs to be deemed DD eligible under children's system of care in order to even tap into the ABA services. So ABA will fall under the intensive in-home, those IIH services I briefly spoke about. Again, everything is individualized, but essentially after the eligibility is determined, the young person is deemed DD eligible under children's system of care. The care manager from the care management organization in whatever county the family lives in will assist the family in navigating the options that are available. If, let's say, a family is in the application process, they don't yet have the eligibility determined, but their young person is struggling, as the video I showed explained, you should still be able to tap into children's system of care resources under the CMO. So we're not going to leave the family high and dry. What we'll do is we'll link the young person and the family through the child family team and connect them with an in-home therapist that will help until we get that DD eligibility. Once the DD eligibility is done, then the care manager will be able to put into the cyber system that we use a request for ABA, which is Applied Behavioral Analysis. It's usually pretty intense. We're talking 10, 12 hours a week. It's not just with the young person, it's also the parents and caregivers being trained on various different tools and strategies and coping skills to use. It's very effective. There's also floor time options that are available as well. But the process is eligibility first for DD eligibility under Children's System of Care, and then your care manager from the CMO, the care management organization, based on whichever county you live in, will walk you through what that process looks like. I guess I can just segue into making sure that everybody understands that there is a CMO, FSO, and Children's Mobile Response in each county in the state of New Jersey. So some of the smaller counties like Cumberland, Gloucester, Salem, they fall under one CMO agency, but ideally it's supposed to be that no matter where the child lives in the state of New Jersey, there's a CMO, a mobile response, and family support organization that the family can tap into. If the family gets services while the eligibility is pending, what will happen if they are deemed ineligible? Will there be a cost incurred? No. So the services that a family can tap into while they're waiting for DD eligibility is just your general basic mental health resources, right? So you're still calling PerformCare. They're going to link the family with a licensed clinician to complete a biopsychosocial evaluation. That's going to give PerformCare clinical information on whether or not the family and the young person meet the clinical criteria for CMO. Once the CMO gets involved, if your care manager offers, an option to put in to ask PerformCare to approve, let's say 2 hours of in-home therapy and 2 hours with a behavioral assistant, those services are in place. There's no issue. If the DD eligibility comes back as not eligible and you need to appeal it or submit other documentations, you can still tap into those IIC and BA services that the care manager helped link. So there's basically 2 tracks. So every single family that calls PerformCare and is reaching out for services for their young person, you're either going to go the mental health track or you're going to go the IDD track. What I typically tell people when I do this presentation is when you're calling PerformCare, even if your end goal is to do the DD eligibility, I would first get linked with CMO and then do the DD eligibility. If you call PerformCare and you just say, hey, I just came from the pediatrician's office, my child was diagnosed with, let's say, autism, I want to apply for the DD eligibility, they might direct you to the website to do that application and then not link you with CMO, not on purpose, but we always try to tell people to call PerformCare and ask to be linked with care management organization services. This way we can get some therapeutic interventions in place while the family also at the same time is completing the IDD application. Your care manager, once the eligibility is determined, will very easily be able to open those doors to the other services. You'll probably have another child family team meeting, which is what we call the meetings we have every couple months with the family. Again, your care manager is like your coordinator. So they're just helping the families navigate all of these available resources under Children's System of Care. Hopefully that answered that question. What kind of resources are available for those with a language barrier when securing the appropriate treatment plan? So from my understanding, and I'll let Chad or Katie jump in here as well, I believe that there are sign language interpreters that are available that we can tap into if there's, let's say the family is Spanish speaking. We do have, not many, but a handful of licensed clinicians that also speak various different languages. We will work with the family, obviously, to bridge those gaps and make sure that we're able to connect the youth and young person with available, therapeutic interventions. I'm not going to lie and say that it's not a barrier. It definitely is, but we collaboratively work with the state and with the providing agencies in each of the counties to make sure that we can bridge those gaps. I don't know if Chad and Katie have anything else to add to that. They're counterparts of mine throughout the state.
Sure, yeah, coming out from behind the camera. The one thing I would say to that too is if we do need to, if say we can't get a provider that speaks the actual language, that can communicate with the family in their natural language, we would probably pull in a translating service at that point. Services would still, doesn't change any eligibility, but it's really our role, April, me, and Katie, where we try and find, those providers that have those languages, not just Spanish, Portuguese, lots of different ones, to be able to address the language barrier as much as possible.
Any other questions that folks may have? Do you provide counseling to visually impaired students or mentors for the visually impaired students? I'm actually not sure how to answer this question. Yes, we do service folks who are deaf and or hard of hearing or who have visual impairments. I don't know, Katie and Chad, do you guys know of any specific like mentor services off the top of your heads?
I would just say, I don't know anything specific to that need, but just in general, any youth that has a need for mentoring, we can find a mentor that can help them. I mean, in the community, there's big brothers, big sisters. Sometimes at the local police departments, they do mentoring programs. So there are community-based mentoring programs. If you want something specific to visually impaired students, I mean, bottom line, what we do, we use wraparound. We look into the community to figure out how to meet the unique needs. So if we know, for instance, in Ocean County, there was at Ocean County College, there was a group of youth and families or young adults that were hard of hearing, visually impaired, and they had like a nice community. So we try to link them into that community and just be a natural support. So it's always kind of thinking outside the box and just trying to figure out what that unique need is and trying to get it met as best we can. We do have traditional mentoring services, but sometimes it may not be what we're looking for. So it's just kind of the sky's the limit. We try to be creative and think outside the box. And it takes the whole child family team to do that.
Certainly does. So a part of that question was, do you provide counseling to visually impaired students? Absolutely. We will provide therapeutic interventions to any young person up to the age of 21 struggling with behavioral, mental health, developmental disabilities, or substance use challenges. We do have, just as an example, we have an agency that I believe is statewide that offers therapeutic interventions for our deaf population. So each of the clinicians are also fluent in American Sign Language. So as Katie said, what we do is we try to use the full wraparound approach where we will connect with community-based resources, system partners, partnering, service provider agencies, and we together try to bridge any gaps that come up. But to answer the question, yes, we provide services to any and all people, young folks up to the age of 21 that meet the clinical eligibility under Children's System of Care.
We had one of our providers, it looks like, put in for a question that the Family Resource Network, once again, a community organization that we work with at the Children's System of Care, has a program for visually impaired high school students and college students. And that's at www.familyresourcenetwork.org/employment-skills.
Excellent. I guess now is also a good segue to talk briefly about the resource nets that exist across the state. So each county that has a CMO, a care management organization, is also tasked with having a web-based resource feature that the entire community can utilize. So, Chad and Monmouth has, the Monmouth Resource Net, Katie and Ocean has Ocean Resource Net, and so forth. There is a New Jersey state website, and I think we can put this in the Q&A somewhere. It's a link for any of these resource nets across the state. When you go to the website and you hover your mouse over the county in which you're looking for resources and click, it will take you specifically to that county's resource net. So questions like this, where do I find visually impaired, resources for my son or my daughter or a student that I'm working with? You can utilize the resource net to help connect you to those valuable resources. It's available in multiple different languages. It has a cell phone user friendly app as well. So it's free of charge. Anybody can tap in, but we we like to make sure that we explain to folks that the Resource Net is a great tool to help connect to valuable resources. Of course, in addition to children's system of care resources.
Do we have any other questions or anything that you would like us to elaborate on? Okay, so if the what's available for youth who age out?
So a lot is available. So I'm assuming this question is specific to a young person who was deemed DD eligible under Children's System of Care, considering this conference, but I will answer it on both fronts. So first, answering in response if the young person is IDD eligible. Essentially what we'll do is there's a timeline and we try to help the family. And when I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of the care management organization. So your care manager will help the family navigate the timeline, but essentially at one of the ISP meetings, the individual service plan meetings, we will discuss, doing that application process for adult DDD services, right? So in a situation where a young person is deemed DD eligible under Children's System of Care, I believe they are now, certain youth are grandfathered into adult DDD services, and the roundtables that were discussed in the presentation, that's where the care management organization will coordinate with adult DDD in the county that you live, and we'll have roundtable discussions about what Children's System of Care has put into place, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and we're basically passing the baton over to adult DDD services. There were a couple trainings earlier today that spoke a little bit more about the adult DDD services, and I believe there will be more highlights on those specific services during tomorrow's presentations as well. But essentially, the care management organization under Children's System of Care will help the family and the child family team navigate that process from moving out of Children's System of Care into adult DDD services. In addition, answering this question, if it's a non-DD eligible youth, like I had said earlier, our main goal when we get involved isn't just to have a whole bunch of people come to the family's house and in-home therapies. Our main goal is to stabilize the young person to a place where they're secure and safe, and then transition to community-based resources. So with the help of the community resource director at each of the CMOs across the state, and of course the resource net that I spoke about, it's our goal to help the family identify and connect organically with sustainable resources that exist within their community. So if and when the CMO transitions a young person, or we transition, right, we help create this child family team and then we move out. We want to make sure that if another crisis or another situation comes up, that the family now has the tools and the resources within their own community to make those connections. So it's not like, okay, high five, see you later, 6 months is up, we're done. It's treatment is a process, and we work together as a team. And as Katie said, we try to reach out with all of the available resources within the community to partner with us, so the family is supported along each step throughout this journey. What's available for youth who age out? Okay, so hopefully we answered that question. And then the next one is from Kyoko. Hi, Kyoko. All youth found DD eligible by Children's System of Care will still need to go through the intake process at DDD. They can use the short application. Okay, so thank you for that clarification, Kyoko, for the win, as always. So the previous question that asked, how does that work? So that is the answer. So anybody who is deemed DD eligible under Children's System of Care would then still need to complete the application process for adult DDD services. However, they could complete the short application form as opposed to starting from scratch, which for any family who has been through that process, I'm sure that is great news to hear.
Absolutely. I'll step in to just say that the short application was something developed between the Children's System of Care and DDD, really to eliminate the feeling of like needing to reprove my my youngster has, we've already proved that they have this developmental disability. So it's to ease the burden of going through all of those things, getting updated evaluations and everything like that as they transition to the adult world through DDD. Any other questions?
When partnering with community partners, is there a solidified relationship before the transition? I'm not quite sure I understand the question. When partnering with the community partners, is there a solidified relationship before the transition? I think you're asking if the care management organization makes a connection with the community. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we're talking about a family in my neck of the woods, which is Camden County. We make a connection for the young person with the Croc Center in Camden City. We won't just transition because we've made that connection. So it really depends on where the child is in their therapeutic journey. A lot of times the community-based resources that we help families link with aren't necessarily directly related to the therapeutic intervention. So for example, typically when we get involved, the family is in some sort of a crisis and we're linking the young person with a therapist or a behavioral assistant, right? When the therapist and the BA working with the child are at a point where the young person is stable and safe to transition to outpatient therapy, the way you and I would tap into therapy, that is typically when the CMO, the care management organization, will start discussing transition with the family. So we close and the family will just continue the therapeutic journey on the outpatient setting. However, sometimes we get involved and we're linking in an in-home therapist and they're working with the youth for a while. And maybe it comes up that, Johnny really likes karate or, really wants to have a mentor. So we maybe help the family identify with big brothers, big sisters in the community, right? We're not going to transition just because we've made that link, because we're still working with the family on the therapeutic piece. So a lot of this is a lot of moving parts all at the same time, which is what the care manager helps the family to navigate. But essentially, we move to transition when a young person is stable and safe and no longer in an active crisis situation. But through that therapeutic journey, we are constantly trying to tie with sustainable community-based resources, whether that's a local church, a karate studio, a community center, the family support organization. A lot of those services are community-based and anybody can tap into them. So we're constantly providing our families with available resources that can help them navigate some of the challenges. Because let's be real, sometimes the issues that led to the crisis aren't isolated, right? It's like a blooming onion. Like, okay, let's say a young person is struggling with anxiety and depression. There might be multiple reasons leading to that. So our goal is to help the care manager and the family link with those resources that can help them while they're also simultaneously engaging in therapeutic interventions, such as in-home therapy or behavioral assistance services. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'm going to ask a follow-up for you, April. What if a family transitions from the CMO? Are they eligible to come back in services if, say,
Yes.
6 months things aren't working out?
Yes. So we see this often, and a really important part is to make sure that everybody understands that children's system of care services are available to any young person up to the age of 21 as many times as needed. So for example, let's say, Camden CMO gets linked with a young person at the age of 5 for anger and aggression and, difficulty with authority figures. But then when the kid turns 14, there was a death in the family, and now the child is presenting as depressed or suicidal. The family can just call PerformCare. Again, it's a different set of challenges, right? So as many times as needed, up to the age of 21, a family can tap into children's system of care services. Again, each and every time the family calls PerformCare, there's like a triage piece of that conversation, right? Like PerformCare is determining what is the current situation? Is the child in active crisis? Are we dispatching children's mobile response in that community, or are we going to link this family over the next couple of days with a licensed clinician to complete the biopsychosocial assessment? So the short answer is absolutely. As many times as a family or a young person needs to tap into services, we highly encourage the family to call PerformCare. We don't care if you've called 6 years ago, 6 months ago, you just transitioned, a month ago and you're having challenges, please just call back. We are here to help up to the age of 21.
Thank you. If there's any other questions, please don't hesitate to put them in chat. We'll definitely answer them or elaborate on anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of different services that fall under children's system of care, but for the purpose of this presentation and this conference, we wanted to keep it specific to the IDD, which is why the slideshow was very specific to that. But there's a lot to the children's system of care and care management organization umbrella. Would you please send me the transcript? Okay, so this recording will be available on the New Jersey Youth Transition Conference website. So all of the questions that were asked, they were read out loud. So that will be available to you via audio. I'm not sure if they're able to save the Q&A questions to post them, but I do know for sure that each of these webinars have been recorded and will be uploaded to the website for anybody to tap into and access later.
Yes, and to answer the second question as well, as April said, all the sessions, what it'll do is where you went to register on the page on New Jersey NJ transition .life, that's going to be replaced with, instead of register, it's going to be, say, handouts, or the video is going to be right there. So we'll include all the slides and the recordings of the presentation, and give us a week or so to make that change on the website.
Can you provide your emails for any questions after the presentation? How would we provide that to the attendees? I'm sure there's a way for us to do it. I publicly give my email all of the time. I'm happy to, I don't know, Chad, can you type it in the box? I'm happy to provide my email. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
The spelling?
No, Chad.
Let me see if I can type an answer. Here you go. I'm going to put it in this response to this anonymous attendee. And send. Hopefully that worked. I don't know if it did, but my email is A as in Apple, DiPietro, that's D-I, P as in Peter, I, E as in Edward, T as in Tom, R as in Robert, O as in Orange, at Camden, C as in cat, M as in Mary, O as in orange.org. And I'm the Community Resource Director at the Camden County Care Management Organization. As I said earlier, there's a CMO, a care management organization representing each county across the state of New Jersey. We all have active websites, we all have resource nets, and there are various ways for you to get in touch with us. However, getting in touch directly with us is only beneficial if you're already open to your care management organization in your county. For all access to these services, it's a single point of access through PerformCare. So you can either go to the PerformCare website, or you can call PerformCare at that 1-877 number. I can't think of the other digits off the top of my head, which I probably should have it memorized, but it's 24/7, 365. A human being will answer the phone. So we always encourage folks to call PerformCare in order to get connected to their care management organization. Are all of the sessions available? Yes, we answered that. I cannot save the transcript on my phone. Yeah, so Sandra, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to save the Q&A from this session, but I do know that the recordings will be available on the New Jersey Transition Conference website, and we have been reading the questions out loud, so they are captured via audio. For anyone who can save the script and forward to me, okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? We're coming up on 5 minutes left, so we have time to prepare for the next presentation. It's been a pleasure to talk with all of you today and share this valuable information. If you leave with anything today, please leave with going to the PerformCare website, or at least calling them to tap into services.
And the one thing I'll say about contact information too, All of the CMOs are listed on the DCF website with information there for the contacts, but also a lot, as April said, we have, I'm in Monmouth, where Monmouth Cares, we're the CMO. monmouthcares.org is there, has my contact information as well. It's pretty readily available. As far as if you go and search either DCF Care Management Services, New Jersey, something like that, we try and be publicly accessible to answer questions and follow up.
Absolutely. But single point of access, in order to officially be connected with your county's care management organization, you have to call PerformCare to initiate that process. But as Chad said, we all have, websites that go into detail about what to expect when our agency is involved, what wraparound is, what is a care manager, what our roles are. So we definitely encourage you to whatever county you live in, to find your care management organization's website to do some research. But we definitely direct everybody to PerformCare initially, because they need to make the clinical determination of whether or not the young person and family meet the criteria for CMO services. Just to give you an example, here in Camden, we're currently working with around 1,400 families. So some of us are very large, especially if the county is larger. But at the end of the day, Chad's role, my role, Katie's role is to make sure that every professional and adult in our communities understand that these services are at no cost to the family, and that we're here to help any young person up to the age of 21 with behavioral, mental health, developmental disabilities, or substance use challenges at no cost to them.
And yes, the Q&A should be part of the recording. It'll record from when I said I was going to hit the button till we leave. So, and just a reference too, in Monmouth, we're a little bit shy of 900. So, lots and lots of youth and families enrolled all across New Jersey, but those are the numbers just for two of the care management organizations.
Excellent. We have 2 minutes left. Any last minute question? Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Please check out the PerformCare website. And for all content related to the conference today, everything will be available in the next week or so on the New Jersey Youth Transition Conference website. Thank you, Alejandra.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great day and a weekend.
Take care.